Good morning, everybody. Jump on in. Man, big news day today. It's all bad news today. Bad news for at least 3 different places. Was it a bomb? I've been watching, just flipping between CNN and Fox, which is hilarious because at Fox they're talking about how Trump's poll numbers look great, and over on CNN, and this is hard even to believe, but over at CNN they're talking about the fact that he said it was a bomb before we knew it was a bomb, and they're criticizing him for being right that it was a bomb. Literally, they got nothing left. If you're criticizing someone for being right prematurely, you're kind of out of ammunition, right? That's sort of like monsters still coming, throw the gun, you've emptied the magazine. I used to say emptied the clip, but then all my gun friends corrected me and said, no, it's not a clip, it's a magazine. So it looks like we got enough people, 600 people. I wanted to talk to you about Syria. So you saw the news on Syria that the U.S. had accidentally bombed and killed 62 Syrian troops. Now let me give you a little background on this, and somebody jump in and correct me if I've got my facts wrong. So Assad's Syrian army, whatever's left of it, has been fighting lots of different factions, including ISIS, including our allies. I understand that Russia, who is allegedly our ally now, has a bad habit of bombing. Oh, thank you. My neighbor came over just to give me some coffee. Isn't that nice? So Russia has been accidentally bombing our allies over there, but now we're friends with Russia, at least in terms of Syria, allegedly. And now this ceasefire was supposed to be for the purpose of allowing in humanitarian aid. And I just watched John Kerry on TV saying that Assad was not allowing the humanitarian aid in, which was the whole point of the ceasefire. So then what happened? So here's your background, right? Russia has been accidentally bombing some of our allies in the Syrian theater. And Assad has been stopping what we wanted to do, which was to let in the humanitarian aid. And then suddenly this accident happened. Oops, we accidentally killed 62 Syrian army troops owned by Assad. Now, you look at that situation and you tell me you think that was a fucking accident, right? Do you think we accidentally bombed Syrian troops, which would be, coincidentally, exactly the right thing to do to get them to do what we want? Because you know what else is going to happen if they don't open up and let the humanitarian aid in? I got a feeling we might accidentally bomb them again. Could happen, accidentally. So Russia's been playing this, bullshit, I'm accidentally bombing the wrong people thing for a while. We haven't played that card, but when it came to this, it's possible it was accidental. But wouldn't it make more sense to do it intentionally in this situation? Think about it. What would be the best way to get Assad to do what you want in a ceasefire? You would find some places outside the ceasefire, which apparently we did, and then you would bomb the fuck out of his troops. And then you'd say, hey, that was an accident. Sure hope that doesn't happen again. By the way, how's that humanitarian aid working out? Are we letting that through yet? No? Well, how about maybe we drop another accidental bomb? This time it's on, some high-ranking member of the regime's house. Oops, did it again. There's a fog of war out there. We can't help ourselves. Do any of you think that was really an accident? By the way, it could be. I don't have any inside information. But when you see an accident that happens to coincidentally be exactly the time and exactly the type of accident which would be to our great strategic advantage, I I don't know. Doesn't sound too accidental to me. Sounds kind of brilliant, actually. And by the way, this is one of the reasons that I say Obama is probably a better president than most of you say. Because the serious shit you never get to see. You know, the decisions that make a big difference are this stuff, right? Because if this wasn't intentional, it sure should have been. Like, who didn't think of this idea? Let's accidentally bomb them. This happens all the time. Let's see how long it takes the mainstream media. They probably can't talk about this sort of stuff because there's literally not a shred of evidence to support what I'm saying, and I want to be clear about that. I'm just saying, I've lived in the real world a long time. I've seen a lot of patterns. And when you see a coincidence of this scale and this timing, not so coincidental maybe. Let's go to war with Russia. Here's the thing. The last thing Russia wants is a war. We didn't go to war with them when they bombed our allies. And it's perfectly safe assumption that especially after they got caught hacking us, that they weren't going to go to war when we bombed their ally right in front of them. Because you know what else we did? If my assumption is correct, we didn't just bomb their ally. We probably sent somebody over to look them in the eye and say, hey, sorry about that. We bombed your ally. Wink, wink. You know, I don't think they'd want them to think it was an accident. Even if it was an accident, you wouldn't want them to think so, would you? Wouldn't you tell them it was, you know, sort of, oh, sorry, sort of an accident. Yeah, we really apologize for that. We'll try harder next time, but, you know, let them know it was no accident. Accidental bombing is a dangerous move? Not at all. In this situation, accidentally killing 62 Syrian army troops is about as close to zero risk as you could get. Because there is a big risk when you let Russia just keep getting away with shit, right? That's a risk. And the way that you push back is you push back any way you can. It doesn't have to be a perfect tit-for-tat situation, you know. You know, I'm sure we're also hacking the living shit out of their country. Don't you think our hacking brigades are just basically crawling up every asshole in Russia right now? You know they are, right? So we're doing that to push back. You know that's happening. But this accidental bombing of the Syrian army, that just looks like more, I'd say more, you know, staging, more setting the stage so that Russia will take us a little more seriously than perhaps they have. I am not a neocon, or even close to it. If Obama was this clever, no, you can't really compare. The trouble is you can't really tell how well anybody's doing in this situation because there are so many variables. They're changing all the time. You don't know. How would the president who wasn't the president, how would he have done? How did Obama do against the imaginary president who was president at the same time making different decisions? Did the imaginary guy get better results? I drink too much coffee. You're right. Giving them an important stronghold. I think everything's changing there all the time. I don't think they're giving them an important stronghold that's going to last any time. Neocon, I get it. All the momentum it is with Trump. Yeah, it's true. We're working out our disputes by bombing third parties. But the weird thing is it probably works, right? I mean, it's probably getting us exactly what we wanted out of that region. I would say that the odds of Syria allowing in our humanitarian aid just improved by this accidental bombing, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I heard CNN censored the bomb comment. But here again, I would not attribute that to a clever scheme. when it makes far more sense that it was an editing thing. Because obviously, if the video was out there, somebody was going to bust him for that edit. So you have to assume that CNN is sophisticated enough to know that if they make an edit that just completely changes the story right in front of other people who have the master file of the actual event, and it's in the news, and definitely people are going to be checking the original. Nobody does that intentionally. So I'm going to say CNN did that, but probably it was just edited for timing, and it was just a screw up. Because it wasn't a good edit. You don't want to edit to change meaning, but that edit probably did change meaning, or at least how you'd interpret it. So that would be just a bad edit, I would say. That's got to happen all the time. Yeah, but beware of confirmation bias. You think you're seeing it all the time, but that doesn't mean they're intentionally doing it. It just means that you would see it all the time, because you imagine it's there. And I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying that it would look exactly like it's there, whether it was there or not. Fox did the same. They cut a shorter fall also. Godzilla working with the Air Force now? Well, let me put it this way. If our military is not taking the best advice from the people who know persuasion, then I would consider that completely irresponsible. So while I have no reason to think, Godzilla would be working on the ISIS problem, somebody with his skills should be involved in this, right? I don't know why I'm not involved. You'd think somebody would have asked me by now. They're respecting the flag by boycotting football. No, my opinion on Kaepernick is probably the opposite of most people, which is I respect the risk he's taking because it might work out for him, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a big risk. So I think when somebody takes that big of a risk, you listen to them. Now, I think that whoever played on 9/11 was wise to go with the locked arms and not the disrespectful, sitting during the national anthem on that day of all days. But no, I say I'm all with Kaepernick's message, not the content of the message, because he hasn't really explained exactly what he wants to fix things. But I'm open to that. But I'm not watching the NFL either way. I hear the 49ers are going to be. I heard the 49ers are going to be good this year, so maybe I'll watch this year. High schools following the lead. I'm okay with that too. I'd be okay if 70% of the country decided not to stand if they had a reason. If the reason is that they feel there's a reason, that's a reason. Remember, I deal with persuasion, not facts. I think we're all confused about the facts. But on a persuasion level, if you have that many citizens who think the world is biased against them, so much so that they're going to take a personal risk with their life and their career and reputation and all that, if they feel that strongly, that's as real as something can be real. If you feel you're living in a country that's unfair to you, that's your reality. The fact that you don't see it doesn't really change the fact that they feel it. And I think if somebody feels that strongly, no matter who they are, if they're Americans and especially if they're adults, you got to listen. Right? I'm listening. Tell me what you want to do. South Park. I don't really watch South Park. Do your John Lovett voice again? Do I have a John Lovett voice? Hey, John Lovitz. I can't do an impression. I'm not answering the question of whether the terror bombings help or hurt anybody, just out of respect for the victims. This is the day of, within 24 hours of the event, and it seems to me that a decent respect to the people involved is to just not talk about the game of it. You don't have to think too hard to figure out what this does to the election. But I feel it would be disrespectful to make that the focus today. We'll talk about that later. But right now it's all about getting people healthy and figuring out who did it. Why did Trump report it before everyone else? Because Trump knows risk management. By the way, that's what I blogged about today. If you haven't seen my blog, you should go take a look. So what Trump does is he seems to somewhat consistently take the path of best odds, even when it doesn't look like it to other people. You can tell by the result that he actually knew what he was doing. So, for example, he's insulting people for a year. Nobody else would have said that was a good idea. I was kind of on it early saying, wait, these are more than insults. These are linguistic kill shots. But generally speaking, he's taking risks that other people would not. I think I was going somewhere with that today. How to prove we own our enemy. Bombing. Yeah, bombing is persuasion. Are you talking about my neighbor, Christina? Risk management. Oh, I was talking about, yeah. So Trump's risk management was that if he went out there and said it was a bomb and then it turned out not to be a bomb, I think the public would say, yeah, he probably shouldn't have said that, but we all thought it was a bomb too. So basically he was acting exactly like citizens. If you act exactly like the rest of the citizens, which is, you jump to conclusions, citizens are going to be a little bit forgiving about that, right? They're going to say, you shouldn't have said that, but I said the same thing too, right? So it's wrong. If he goes out there and he says bomb and it's not a bomb, that would be a mistake. But it's a tiny, tiny little mistake. One that nobody's going to really remember the next day. But if he gets it right, he's the leader. He's the guy who sees the world the way it really is. And it probably was a bomb, right? Just based on the initial reports, I think we all thought it was a bomb, right? And we were all right. So he just did what we did. We all thought it was a bomb. We were all right. So it was a really good risk to take. Clinton, on the other hand, looked like a follower because she literally followed. She waited for other people to tell her what to say. Literally, she waited for other people to tell her what to say. And then she said it. So you could argue that that was a smarter, wiser, better way to be a president, and I wouldn't argue that at all. I'm just saying that persuasion-wise, the way it felt is that Trump got in front of it, and he said something that was accurate. So he took the risk that he could do that, and it worked. She said, I'm going to play it safe and be this responsible adult. And that was a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I would even argue it was the more responsible thing to do. But it didn't work for her. Completely failed because it looked like she was weak and slow and unrealistic about the world or something. None of that's true. It's just how you register it. Hillary's been dead since 9/11. So are we looking at just her doppelganger? So let me put this out there for you. In order for Trump to win in a landslide, he simply has to do what he has done for 5 weeks, which is act like he's empathetic and tone down the rhetoric and look like he can control it. Now, he's done it for 5 weeks successfully, so I'd say that's a pretty good bet that he can keep doing it, especially since he sees that it works, right? If there was some ambiguity about whether it was working, well then yeah, all bets are off. But there's no ambiguity about it now. It absolutely, totally works. So of course he's going to do more of it, and he can do it effortlessly. So that's his path to win. Clinton's path to win is to make you disbelieve everything about her past. How easily is that going to happen? She's also got to make you believe that she's healthy, which isn't working out for her right now. I mean, she looked like a zombie when she talked about, you saw the trending hashtag zombie Hillary or something. So her task is nearly impossible. She has to look healthy when she isn't, and she has to make us forget her, every deed in her past that makes you question her crookedness, I guess. So she has this impossible, virtually impossible path to the presidency. And Trump has one that really he just has to show up, right? I mean, show up and do what he's been doing. But for him, that's as easy as showing up, right? What's easier for Trump than, hey, there's a bunch of people out there, why don't you go talk to them, but read that teleprompter? Could that get any easier? I don't think so. Now, what about the, I guess the debates could make a difference. I doubt it. I think the debates are going to show that Trump had way more, facts that didn't check out than Clinton did, but they'll both have ridiculous budgets that can't possibly add up. They'll both say they're going to defeat ISIS by being tough, but nobody can really tell the difference, who's got a better plan, or even if they are different, I don't even know. They'll talk about taxes, and they'll both say that the other people's numbers don't add up, and basically it's just going to be this big confusing nothing. So my guess is that the debates will produce nothing of interest except that Trump will look a little more presidential than maybe you expected, which, by the way, would be a huge win. That would be enough for him to win big. Trump has less product knowledge. True. Now, if Trump is smart, he will finesse the details questions, because the hosts want to give him an Aleppo type question, the gotcha, the one that you don't know the answer to right in front of the whole country. So he should be getting prepared for that, right? To the gotcha question. And I think he should just walk right at it and say, look, everything's changing in Syria. It's changing all the time. What we know today is going to be a little bit, moot by January. The job of a president is to listen to advisors who lay out the situation, keep you updated, and then you send them in a general direction, right? You don't need to know the details of the commanders on the ground. There's a lot you really don't need to know. And knowing what you don't need to know is a pretty important skill, because otherwise you're going to spend all your time studying up on the stuff you don't need to know. So I'm not sure that leadership is compatible with, detailed knowledge of, all the world events, because while you're studying, somebody needs to be leading. Has it been long enough to comment on? No, I'm not commenting today on the terrorist attack with the stabbing or the terrorist of some type bomb in New York. Well, I'm gonna let today's focus be on the victims. Did you check your Gmail? Check it for, I didn't. I will check that as soon as I get off here. The perfect pant. I don't know what that means. Exactly. Cartoonists don't know how to, I don't have to, I don't know how the internet works in detail in order to use it. Did I work out today? Not yet, but I will. It's on the plan. Are you wearing pants? I'm wearing my workout shorts, actually. I didn't see Kellyanne on Bill Maher, no. But I'm sure she did do well. What kind of workouts are you following? I mostly do not very much cardio. I've cut down on the cardio, and I'm doing a lot more weight training. It's more age appropriate for me. Do you invest in stocks? Yes. I have most of my assets in stocks. Yeah, but I've got spiders and index funds, so I'm not picking individual stocks. With a few exceptions that are just that, they're exceptions. I'm invested in the S&P 500, but I'm not a financial analyst, so I do not recommend that you do what I do. I don't recommend anything. System for dealing with anxiousness. Yes, actually, I spend years of my life trying to figure out how to be less bothered by stress. And I would say that becoming a hypnotist helped, because self-hypnosis is part of what you learn. Meditation helped. Exercise is the biggest one. If you don't exercise vigorously every day, and you're an adult living in the complicated adult world, itchy nose. Damn it, itchy nose every time. The anxiety will kill you, because the big companies in our world are organized to make you anxious. They're interrupting, not by intent, that's just the effect. If you look at it, our biggest tech companies, they only make money if they can interrupt you as much as possible. It's like, hey, I'm doing a Google search, but look over here, there's an ad. Hey, I want to use my app to do something on my phone, but I got to go through 10 different apps, close apps to get there. And it's all because they've built their business model to require you to do things the hard way. And it just makes you anxious and nervous, and humans aren't really evolved for all that complexity and phones and screens and all that. So that a normal human with everything going right should feel anxious all the time, because the world is organized to make you that way. So even if you're perfectly healthy, you're going to be anxious a lot. So I would say vigorous exercise every day, and you should do some A/B testing to find out what things work for you. So you want to work on your diet, your sleeping technique, and these are all things you can Google, right? You can figure out what's the best way to improve your sleep, what's the best way to improve your diet, or read my book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. There's lots of tips in there that would get to anxiety, by the way. You're afraid of arthritis. You're not a fitness expert, Scott. Damn. I'm not sure what that meant. Did I sound like I was an expert? You seem to never sleep. Yeah, lately. I did take a nap today. Did I visualize Christina bringing me coffee? I didn't need to. If you can keep your head, yeah. You just went to Amazon. It's working. I love pizza, but it's not something I want to eat every day. Are naps the secret? No, I just didn't. I only had 3 hours of sleep last night, so I supplemented with a few. I haven't read any of Talib's book. I think I gave Black Swan a quick look, just to get the general idea. But in general, anything Talib says you should listen to, because he's smarter than you. He's smarter than me. I don't play any musical instruments. I don't have any musical talent whatsoever. Da Vinci slept in 20-minute intervals. That's the sort of thing that I would put no credibility. I would assign no credibility to any story about some 1400s, 1600s guy, whenever he was. Will the market drop when you accept Trump will win? No, I think the market will go up when people think Trump is going to win. Did we get any more? Yes, I'll do a nose scratch. That's the best I can do for you right now. Edison. Yeah, I don't believe any of those. All the people who say they only slept X number of hours, usually it's some kind of an exaggeration. I wouldn't believe most of them. How long will it take before the other half accepts Trump? Never. Probably won't happen. He said nobody would ever spend 26 books on a book on how to fail. Well, did he say that about my book? I mean, is that what you're talking about specifically? Oh, he's not a fan of Cialdini. Yeah, that's true. Trump have a successful presidency. Well, that's what you should read about in my blog today. So I talk about assessing the risks of a Trump candidacy. And I think the way you do that is you look how he has managed risk in the rest of his life. And you have lots of examples of that. You saw, for example, he's been married 3 times, but he must have had good prenups because he kept most of his money. Yeah, I do use a Cintiq. And you go down the list. You know, he does a lot of licensing. Licensing is the most risk-free business you can be in, because people pay you whether the thing they license the product for succeeds or not. He wrote a book, which is another risk-free thing, because in his level, the publisher pays in advance. So it doesn't even matter how well it does. So if you go right down the line, you just keep finding that Trump is doing things to minimize his risk. You take even his bankruptcies. So he's had several bankruptcies, and of 500 or so projects he's got his name on. Now, if you don't know anything about business, you would say, well, he's got some failures. I guess this is a guy who fails. If you look at it in context, and of the hundreds of projects he's done, you're going to have some failures. So the way you would minimize your risk is to have each of them set up as separate entities. So that way they can reorganize and they can, you know, or fail individually without taking everything with it. Turkey, Syria, boom, boom. Is something happening today between Turkey and Syria? I don't have any tattoos. Yeah. Could Hillary be in the third act? Well, they can't both be in the third act because somebody's got to lose. So I'm thinking she doesn't have anything left. And it wouldn't look like a proper third act because she's actually still ahead in the polls. So hilarious comments in her book review. Will CNN change the tune once Trump is elected? Well, they will if they ever want him to be on the network. So that, if you noticed, he's completely boycotted. You speak to my club at Berkeley? It depends on the club. Send me an email. dilbertcartoonist@gmail.com. And I promise I'll go look at it. I haven't looked at that email in about a week. Snowden opinion. I don't know enough about Snowden, but my uninformed opinion is that he was probably doing something that he thought was for the benefit of citizens of the United States, if not the world. So I think I'd be tempted to pardon him if it were me. Periscope Chiron influences what you say here. Well, Dogbert doesn't have a mouth either. The reason is he just didn't look right with the mouth. Neither one of them did. Will you watch Trump pardon a turkey? Oh, pardon a turkey. Best books you've read this year? You should read. I don't know. I can't think of the best book I read this year. In a given year, I only read a book if I'm on the road. It's the only time it happens. I haven't traveled too much this year, but I'll be reading some more coming up. All right, I'm going to sign off now. Trump's up 7. Where? Okay. I'm going to go. See you guys later. Go read my blog. Thanks. Talk to you later.